So today we're zeroing in on one specific skirmish from this quest, one particular battle royale of sound, Group 121. And what a group it is. We have three absolutely formidable contenders here. Christina Aguilera's Back to Basics, then the legendary Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, and also the hauntingly beautiful Celtic folk of Clannad's Crann Ull. Our mission for you, our listener, is to explore Greenstock's personal, detailed analysis of these albums and understand the, well, pretty surprising results that came out of this particular grouping.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is exactly that incredible range you mentioned. The genre diversity packed into this single group, it's kind of wild. You've got Motown soul-inspired pop jazz, like a powerhouse album there, then seminal rock anthems, and then this exquisite atmospheric Celtic folk. That phrase, random yet thoughtfully curated, it really does flag a deep sort of methodological tension in this whole quest. Because, pure randomness might throw together albums that are just apples and oranges, impossible to compare fairly. But the thoughtfully curated part suggests Greenstock maybe introduced a layer of his own subjective grouping before the listening even began, and that points to one of the inherent challenges, doesn't it? How much do you control the bracket versus letting pure chance dictate the matchups and the whole back-to-back listening thing? That's not just a method, it's a decision. It dramatically shifts the evaluation criteria, I think. It probably favors immediate impact, dynamic contrast, maybe even overt craftsmanship over an album's like slow burn resonance or its historical context, which immediately raises that big question.
How do you even begin to compare such distinct artistic expressions? It's not just about the sound or the genre. It's the storytelling in the lyrics, right? The emotional hit an album gives you, the innovation it brought maybe, and even just their sheer vocal presence and artistry. These are all deeply subjective metrics, which makes Greenstock's definitive rankings all the more compelling because they really reveal his personal criteria.
That's a really powerful point about subjectivity, but it also makes his rankings even more compelling, doesn't it? He's making these hard choices we'd probably struggle with. And as we get into Group 121's analysis, well, prepare for some interesting turns. The results might surprise quite a few people, especially those familiar with these albums. Greenstock ultimately declared, get this, Christina Aguilera's Back to Basics the winner of this entire group.
Wow.
Yeah. It's undeniably a bold statement, especially putting it next to Springsteen. And Greenstock's praise for Back to Basics was incredibly enthusiastic and specific. He described it as truly excellent Motown soul inspired. He went on to highlight that it's a collection of 2 discs worth of pop soul jazz gems, really emphasizing the sheer volume and quality there. And to top it all off, he specifically pointed out that it's topped off by the beautiful Hurt. Clearly that track resonated. He even added this personal note about his experience with her work, saying this album dispelled any fears I had that Stripped was a one-off.
Yeah.
So what do you think that choice tells us? How personal resonance can sometimes maybe trump massive critical consensus in these quests?
That's a fantastic question. And yeah, that choice of Back to Basics as the winner it's profoundly insightful, actually. Because for many people, Aguilera's Stripped was that big moment of artistic redefinition, right? And so to have Back to Basics not just follow it, but in Greenstock's view, surpass it, well, that speaks volumes. It connects to that broader idea of an artist's evolution. And here, specifically, a really powerful return to core influences. The Motown soul-inspired description isn't just a style note. It signals a deliberate, deep engagement with a rich musical heritage. Big layered arrangements, powerful vocals, that classic R&B feel woven into a modern pop framework. When an artist, especially one known for pop innovation, can pull off evoking and elevating classic sounds like that across 2 discs, it validates their journey, their artistic intent. So this win for Aguilera, I think it highlights how a personal deep dive like this can prioritize that artistic intention and mastery of craft. Even if it's a genre throwback, it can value that over, say, sheer cultural ubiquity or historical weight, especially when you're doing these intense back-to-back listening sessions.
It suggests Greenstock might be putting a really high value on vocal prowess, intricate arrangements, and maybe a certain kind of sophisticated pop production in his personal criteria.
That surprising win really does underscore the subjective nature of this whole thing.
Absolutely. But okay, what about the album that, for so many people, is synonymous with a whole generation of rock music? How did Springsteen's Born in the USA fare? Well, it took a very strong second place. We have the boss himself, Bruce Springsteen, with that iconic album, a record that, captured the heart of a nation, became a global anthem. And Greenstock was definitely impressed. He offered this specific praise that I think captures a lot of what makes it so enduring. He noted he was impressed with songwriting that crosses into the mainstream and yet remains deep storytelling rock.
Yeah, that's a really sharp observation.
Isn't it? It highlights that dual appeal. Massive commercial success, but with that underlying lyrical depth. Indeed. And if you step back and look at the bigger picture, Born in the USA's cultural impact is just immense. Still resonates decades later. Greenstock's point about mainstream yet deep storytelling that really gets at how it keeps its power, how it can stand so strong even against totally different albums in a contest like this. Springsteen, he's a master of character-driven stories, right? Portraying the struggles, the dreams of working-class America, and he pairs these vivid stories with these huge, anthemic, stadium-ready rock hooks. Think about Born in the USA itself. Despite how the chorus was often misunderstood, it tells such a poignant story about Vietnam vets.
Right. Totally misinterpreted sometimes.
Exactly. Or the raw honesty in a track like My Hometown. He just achieved this incredible balance, crafting songs that were universally accessible, catchy as anything. Yet each one carried real narrative weight, real emotion. That ability to be both huge and deeply personal, that's rare. It's a gift. And it ensures an album like Born in the USA holds its own, even when it's pitted against albums from completely different worlds stylistically. It speaks to a kind of enduring quality that just transcends genre, and it still compels a listener like Greenstock's, even if it didn't snag the top spot in this particular very personal matchup.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how an album can be so culturally huge, yet its specific qualities get highlighted in a new way when you put it in direct comparison like this. Okay, so finally, rounding out Group 121, we have the beautiful Celtic folk of Clannad with Crann Ull. Now, this album, while it didn't make it to the next round, clearly held a special place for Greenstock's. He talked about it with a mix of admiration, but also one specific critique. He found it beautifully crafted, as always, which is, high praise for their consistent artistry.
Definitely. Clannad are masters of their craft.
Right. But he did note that it possibly could have done with some more vocals,
Right.
which indicates a specific preference he had during those back-to-back listening sessions. Despite that, though, he still highlighted a track he admired, saying, "Strange Day in the Country is a lovely composition." So yeah, while it didn't advance, it certainly wasn't dismissed out of hand.
And that raises an important question, I think, about the specific criteria Greenstock's might have been prioritizing, maybe even subconsciously, during that intense listening. Because Clannad, especially on an album like Crann Ull, they often create this immersive sonic tapestry. The vocals are woven into the instruments, not always front and center like in pop or rock.
Yeah.
Their beauty often lies in atmosphere, these intricate traditional melodies, this ethereal quality where instruments and voices just blend. It's a whole soundscape.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric.
Exactly. So Greenstock's desire for more vocals, it highlights this fascinating clash, doesn't it, between a listener's personal preference, maybe for a more overt narrative or a prominent vocal performance, and the artist's deliberate choice to create something more integrated, more atmospheric. It's subtle, but it's a crucial distinction. So while he acknowledges it's beautifully crafted, that perceived lack of a dominant vocal presence, maybe a missing element for his specific criteria in that moment, likely played a role in its ranking, especially against Aguilera's album, which is all about that powerful, intricate vocal performance.
Right, very vocal forward.
Or Springsteen's, which is driven by that compelling vocal storytelling. Just a powerful reminder, really, that even the most, quote-unquote, objectively beautiful music might not hit a listener's personal sweet spot for what counts as best in a direct comparison. Especially when that comparison involves albums from vastly different musical traditions. The best is always filtered through the listener's ear, isn't it? Even for an expert like Greenstock's. And his specific, detailed assessment tells us a lot about his personal aesthetic.
So, okay, let's wrap up Group 121. What does this all mean for the group and for Greenstock's quest overall? Well, the final order after those intense listening rounds was pretty clear in his analysis. First place, maybe surprisingly for some, Christina Aguilera's Back to Basics, followed by Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA in a strong second, and Clannad's Crann Ull completing the group in third. It's definitely a lineup many might not have predicted just looking at the names on paper, but his process revealed a very personal truth for him.
Absolutely. And putting this into the bigger context, Greenstock's album quest, it just beautifully illustrates the deeply subjective yet incredibly personal nature of musical appreciation. It's not just casual listening, is it? It's this rigorous, focused evaluation. And it reveals how specific elements, whether it's being Motown soul inspired or delivering deep storytelling rock, or even a perceived need for more vocals, how these things become critical factors in a single listener's detailed assessment.